Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Always fun to dig into something new.
So this time, we're going to be looking at imposter syndrome.
Oh, that's a good one. A
Right.
lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah, and we've got this really insightful article by Lyndon Thorpe. It's called Think You're Not Enough, Just As You Are. Discover how digital skills can help you conquer imposter syndrome.
It's a mouthful, but I like where it's going already.
Right. And it really resonated with me, especially the parts about how women experience imposter syndrome.
Yeah, society kind of sets us up for that sometimes, doesn't it?
Totally. So before we jump into the specifics of the article, can you just give us like a quick imposter syndrome 101, for our listeners who might not be totally familiar with the concept?
Sure thing. So, imposter syndrome, it's that feeling you get, that sneaky little voice in your head that tells you you're not as competent as everyone thinks you are.
Like you're a fraud just waiting to be exposed.
Exactly. Like you're going to be found out any minute and everyone's going to realize you don't actually know what you're doing.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
And the thing is, it can manifest differently for men and women.
That's what really got me about the article.
Yeah, for women, it's often tied to these societal expectations to be perfect, to be caregivers, to be everything to everyone.
Is never mess up, right?
Right. And so we end up second guessing ourselves, seeking constant validation from others.
And the article features this woman, Juniper, who's clearly struggling with this.
Yeah, her story is like a case study in how these societal pressures can really impact a woman's confidence.
Before we get into her story, though,
Mm.
I think it's important to highlight some of the statistics the article mentions because they're pretty shocking.
Yeah, they really are. So get this, 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives.
That's a lot.
It is, but for women, it's even higher. Up to 75% of women report feeling like imposters in their professional lives.
Wow, no wonder so many of us are struggling.
And here's another one that really hit me. 61% of women feel inadequate compared to their male counterparts.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. It really speaks to the deeply ingrained societal norms that we're up against.
You know what's really interesting is that Lyndon, the author of this article, she actually experienced imposter syndrome herself.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of ironic, right? Considering she dedicates her work to empowering others.
It is. She talks about how she went from being this super confident educator to suddenly grappling with imposter syndrome when she transitioned into a business-focused career.
That's so relatable. It's like no matter how accomplished we are, there's always that potential for self-doubt to creep in.
Especially when we're stepping outside of our comfort zones
Yeah.
or into new and unfamiliar territory.
Exactly. It's like that feeling of being a fish out of water.
Totally.
Hmm.
So what do you think it was about the business world specifically that might have triggered those feelings for Lyndon?
That's a good question. Maybe it was the emphasis on competition and external validation?
Or maybe the fast-paced, always-on culture?
Could be. Or maybe it was just a general sense of not belonging, feeling like she didn't quite fit in.
It's interesting to think about, what are those environments or situations that tend to trigger those feelings for us? Like, what are our personal imposter syndrome triggers?
That's a great question for our listeners to reflect on. What sets those alarm bells off for you? What makes that little voice start whispering doubts in your ear?
Now, eventually, Lyndon realized she needed to prioritize her own empowerment, break free from those feelings of inadequacy.
Mm.
And that's where digital skills come in.
Yes. This is where things start to get really interesting. The article positions digital skills as this powerful weapon against imposter syndrome, especially for women.
It's like those skills give us this toolkit to build ourselves up, redefine our narratives, and create something amazing.
Exactly. It's about taking control of our own stories and not letting those limiting beliefs dictate our paths.
So let's dive into that a bit more. How exactly do digital skills help us combat imposter syndrome? What's the connection there?
Well, first of all, think about the confidence boost that comes with mastering a new skill.
Oh yeah, like when you finally figure out how to code that website or create that killer presentation.
Exactly. It's like, hey, I did that. And suddenly, you're not just someone who struggles with tech, you're someone who can achieve anything you set your mind to.
It's like you're building this mental muscle of resilience.
Yeah.
Right? Like each new skill you master makes you a little bit stronger and more capable.
Exactly. And then there's the whole community aspect of the digital world. Think about online communities, social media platforms, all these spaces where you can connect with like-minded people, share your experiences, and find support.
Like you're not alone anymore. You're part of this tribe of people who get it, who understand what you're going through.
Precisely. And these communities can be incredibly validating, especially for women who might be feeling isolated or unsupported in their offline lives.
So true. And it's not just about finding support. It's also about finding inspiration. Seeing other women out there killing it in their fields,
Mm.
using their digital skills to create amazing things.
Right. It's like if they can do it, I can too. And that can be a really powerful motivator to push past those feelings of self-doubt and
Yeah.
start pursuing your own dreams.
And the article specifically mentions blogging and podcasting as ways for women to share their voices and build their platforms.
Yeah. Imagine starting a blog about your passion, connecting with other people online, and suddenly you're not just so-and-so who feels like a fraud. You're a thought leader, an expert in your field.
That's so empowering. It's like you're reclaiming your narrative and defining success on your own terms.
Absolutely. And that's what this whole journey is about, isn't it? It's about breaking free from those limiting beliefs and stepping into our full potential.
So true. But I think it's important to note that overcoming imposter syndrome isn't just about mastering those digital skills, right?
Right. There's a whole mindset piece that we need to talk about, a shift in perspective that's essential for truly conquering those feelings of inadequacy.
Definitely. Let's dive into that mindset piece and explore what it really means to challenge those limiting beliefs and embrace our true potential. But before we do that, I just want to remind our listeners that Linden actually encourages anyone struggling with imposter syndrome to reach out to her directly. She offers free training and a mailing list on her website.
Oh, that's awesome. It's so great that she's making these resources available.
Yeah, she really wants to help people overcome this.
Yeah.
And you can find the link to her website in the article.
Great. So everyone listening, take advantage of that. Don't be shy. Reach out to Lyndon and start your journey towards conquering imposter syndrome.
Okay, so now let's get back to that mindset shift. What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it starts with recognizing your self-worth and challenging those societal norms that might be holding you back. It's about prioritizing self-care and celebrating your achievements, big or small.
I love that. Replacing the I can't with I can learn and I am worthy.
Yeah.
It's so important to be kind to ourselves, especially when those doubts start creeping in.
Absolutely. And remember, those doubts will creep in. It's normal. The key is to learn how to manage them and not let them control you.
So how do we actually do that?
Mhm.
What are some practical steps we can take to start cultivating that positive mindset?
One thing that really helped me is like paying attention to my self-talk.
Oh yeah, like noticing those negative thoughts that pop up.
Exactly. And when I catch myself thinking those negative thoughts, I try to like reframe them. Instead of saying I'm not good enough, I'll say I'm learning and growing.
I like that. It's about shifting that inner dialogue, you
Right.
know?
It sounds simple, but it really can make a difference.
It's like you're consciously choosing to focus on the positive instead of getting bogged down by the negative.
Exactly. And speaking of shifting things around, let's loop back to those digital skills for a second.
Oh yeah. How do those actually help us in this process of like cultivating a positive mindset?
Well, think about it this way. Learning a new digital skill can be a huge confidence boost.
Yeah, totally. Every time you like master a new program or platform, it's like you're proving to yourself that you are capable of learning and growing.
Right. And that feeling of accomplishment, it can spill over into other areas of your life.
It's like you're not just someone who struggles with tech anymore. You're a capable individual who can take on new challenges.
Exactly. And on top of that, digital skills can open up a whole world of opportunities.
Right. It's like this whole new realm of possibilities opens up.
Think about the power of online communities and networks.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can learn and connect with people online.
You can connect with people who share your interests, find mentors,